3 a.m. again? Your brain is stuck awake and it's not insomnia. You open your eyes and the room is completely dark. You reach for your phone and the screen lights up your face. 3:07 a.m. Your body feels exhausted, but your mind feels strangely alert, and you already know it's going to happen again. Your thoughts begin moving faster than they did all day. Small worries suddenly feel louder. Random memories resurface for no reason. Your heart feels slightly elevated, not racing, just aware. You shift positions, hoping your brain will power down, but it doesn't. It feels like something just switched on. Most people call this insomnia, but that explanation is incomplete because the real reason you wake up at 3 a.m. is not what you've been told. In fact, your brain may be activating on purpose, not by accident, not randomly, and what's happening next might surprise you. I'm Dr. Sarah, a sleep medicine specialist with a background in psychiatry. For years, I've worked with people who can't fall asleep, people who wake up at 3 a.m. and suddenly feel wide awake, people who say their brain won't shut off at night, people who experience a racing mind the moment the room gets quiet, people who wake up tired even after 7 or 8 hours in bed, and many of them feel like something is wrong with them. Especially those who struggle with insomnia after 40. They tell me their sleep changed almost overnight. They say they used to sleep through the night without thinking about it. Now they just want to know how to stay asleep all night again. They want their brain to feel calm instead of alert. They want to stop dreading 3 a.m. And most of all, they want clarity. Sleep science explains something most people were never told. Falling asleep is only one part of the process. Staying asleep requires stability inside the brain. And that stability depends on precise biological timing. When that timing shifts, the brain can activate unexpectedly, not dramatically, but just enough to wake you, which leads to a deeper question about what changes after you drift off. Because your brain does not simply turn off at night, it continues monitoring your internal and external environment. It tracks hormone levels like cortisol. It adjusts the nervous system automatically. It maintains your circadian rhythm in real time, and it constantly asks one question: is it safe to stay asleep? When everything feels stable, deep sleep continues. Melatonin remains steady throughout the night. Cortisol stays low when it is supposed to. The circadian rhythm flows without disruption. The nervous system remains in a restorative state. The sleep switch stays firmly down, and you sleep through the night without noticing the hours pass. But the brain is extremely sensitive to imbalance. Even a small internal shift can change the signal. A subtle rise in cortisol earlier than expected, a slight activation in the nervous system, a fragile circadian rhythm after 40. None of this feels dramatic, yet the brain detects it instantly. When that detection happens, the brain can enter brain alert mode. Not fear, not full anxiety, just quiet activation beneath the surface, a protective adjustment, a biological safeguard, a shift from deep restoration into light vigilance. This is when the sleep switch begins to weaken. Deep sleep fragments into lighter stages. Your body is still tired, but your brain increases awareness. Your eyes open suddenly, you reach for the clock, 3 a.m. appears again. Now your mind feels active, thoughts begin moving without invitation. You feel like your brain won't shut off at night. You try to fall back asleep, but cannot. You lose the ability to sleep through the night, and this pattern repeats with precision, which leads to the deeper question of why 3 a.m. triggers this response so consistently. Modern sleep science has identified a specific biological state. It is not commonly discussed outside clinical research, yet it explains why so many people wake up at 3 a.m. It explains why the brain won't shut off at night. It explains why sleep becomes fragmented after 40. And it gives this pattern a precise name: It is called the Neural Sleep Inhibition Response. The Neural Sleep Inhibition Response is not a disorder. It is not damage. It is not a flaw in your brain. It is a protective biological response, a built-in safeguard designed to increase vigilance. It activates when the brain senses instability at night, even if that instability is subtle and internal. When triggered, it slightly raises nighttime cortisol, not to daytime levels, but enough to shift the balance. It activates the nervous system just enough to increase alertness. It disrupts circadian rhythm stability in that moment. It shifts the brain into alert mode beneath awareness, and it fragments deep sleep into lighter stages. The result is predictable. You wake up at 3 a.m. with no obvious cause, or your mind starts racing without warning, or you cannot fall asleep again no matter how tired you feel, or you sleep lightly and wake up exhausted. Different experiences on the surface, the same underlying mechanism.
This is why forcing sleep rarely works long-term, because the brain is not confused. It is responding to a signal. It is choosing vigilance over restoration. It is lifting the sleep switch intentionally, and until that signal changes, the pattern repeats, night after night. The critical question is not whether this response exists. The science is clear that it does. The real question is what activates it so consistently. Why does cortisol rise at the wrong time? Why does the nervous system shift into alert mode? Why does this often happen between 3 and 3:30 a.m.? To understand that, we have to look at what changes inside the brain before you ever open your eyes. After 40, the body begins to change in subtle ways. These changes are gradual and often unnoticed at first. Sleep may feel slightly lighter than it used to. You may wake up more easily from small disturbances. Recovery may take a little longer in the morning. None of this means something is broken. It means the system is becoming more sensitive. Hormonal rhythms naturally shift over time. Melatonin production can become less predictable. Cortisol may become more reactive to small stressors. The nervous system may take longer to fully settle at night. Circadian timing can lose some of its precision. Deep sleep may become slightly more fragile, and stability requires more consistent signaling. This increased sensitivity changes how the brain responds at night. A small cortisol fluctuation that once went unnoticed may now be detected immediately. A minor nervous system activation may now be interpreted as instability. The brain does not ignore these shifts. It responds to protect you. That is why the neural sleep inhibition response becomes easier to trigger after 40, not because of weakness, not because of aging damage, but because the system is more finely tuned, more responsive, more protective. This explains why many people struggle with insomnia after 40, even if they slept perfectly for decades. They fall asleep without difficulty, but they cannot stay asleep all night. They wake up at 3 a.m. without understanding why. Their brain feels alert instead of drowsy, and they begin blaming stress or bad habits. Sensitivity, however, is only part of the equation. Hormones alone do not tell the full story. Cortisol fluctuations alone are not enough. Circadian rhythm shifts alone do not explain the precision of 3 a.m. awakenings. There is another layer influencing this response, another signal the brain is reacting to, and that missing piece changes how we approach the solution entirely. Think of sleep like a switch inside the brain. It is not random, it is not accidental, it is controlled by biological timing. It responds to hormones in precise balance. It depends on nervous system stability, and when conditions are right, it stays down. When melatonin rises gradually at night, the body prepares for rest. When cortisol lowers at the appropriate time, vigilance decreases. When the nervous system shifts into parasympathetic mode, tension releases. Breathing slows naturally. Muscles soften without effort. Brain activity becomes synchronized. the sleep switch locks into place. But this system is highly sensitive to disruption. If cortisol rises too early, the balance shifts. If the nervous system senses instability, activation increases. If circadian timing drifts slightly off rhythm, signals misalign. None of this feels dramatic, yet the brain detects the change immediately, and it responds. When that response occurs, the brain lifts the switch, not into full wakefulness at first, just enough to move you into lighter sleep, just enough to increase alertness, just enough for your eyes to open. You become aware of the room again, and the clock reads 3 a.m. That is why you wake up tired instead of restored. That is why your brain won't shut off once you are awake. That is why you feel half asleep and half alert. Your body wants rest, but your brain is evaluating signals. And when this repeats night after night, the neural sleep inhibition response becomes patterned. The brain begins expecting activation at that time. Cortisol timing becomes anticipatory. The nervous system prepares for alert mode. The sleep switch weakens earlier and earlier, and forcing sleep only increases frustration. So the real goal is not sedation, it is stabilizing the switch at its biological source. But stabilizing the switch requires influencing the signals that control it. It requires regulating nighttime cortisol precisely. It requires calming the nervous system consistently. It requires strengthening circadian rhythm timing. It requires reducing the trigger for alert mode. And when those conditions change, the pattern can reverse, which brings us to the most important question of all. Here's the good news. This state is not permanent. Your brain is not stuck this way. It is not broken. It is not deteriorating. It is responding to signals, and signals can change. The brain is plastic throughout life. It adapts to repeated patterns. It strengthens what is reinforced. It weakens what is no longer necessary. It recalibrates hormone timing. It adjusts nervous system responses. It learns what feels safe at night. When the brain consistently receives signals of safety, it responds. When circadian rhythm cues become stable again, it recalibrates. When cortisol timing becomes predictable, vigilance decreases. When the nervous system experiences repeated calm states, alert mode becomes less necessary. The system begins to downshift more easily, and the neural sleep inhibition response can quiet down. This does not happen through force. It does not happen through willpower. It does not happen by fighting wakefulness. It happens through biological consistency, through aligned signals, through steady rhythm, through restored balance. When that shift begins, changes feel subtle at first. 3 a.m. awakenings become less frequent. The racing mind slows more quickly. Falling back asleep becomes easier. Sleep feels heavier and more continuous. Mornings feel clearer. The sleep switch holds longer. Not because you forced your brain to shut down, but because it no longer feels the need to stay alert. Because cortisol rises at the right time instead of too early. Because the nervous system trusts the environment again. Because circadian rhythm regains stability. Because the pattern has been retrained. So the real question becomes, which signals are powerful enough to calm this response consistently? The solution is not sedation. It is not knocking the brain out. It is not overpowering your nervous system. It is not suppressing cortisol artificially. And it is not forcing unconsciousness. Because force does not create stability. Stability creates sleep. What actually helps is supporting healthy cortisol rhythm, encouraging proper nervous system regulation at night, strengthening melatonin timing consistency, reinforcing circadian rhythm alignment, sending clear signals of nighttime safety to the brain, reducing unnecessary activation in alert mode, and allowing the sleep switch to remain steady. That is why I recommend a doctor-approved natural sleep support, one designed specifically to help regulate the neural sleep inhibition response, not by sedation, but by supporting the biological pathways involved, by working alongside your existing rhythms, by respecting how the brain regulates sleep, and by encouraging physiological balance. It works with your biology, not against it. It does not override the system. It helps stabilize it. It supports healthy cortisol timing. It complements nervous system recovery, and it aligns with natural circadian patterns. You can find it in the first pinned comment below this video. But whether you choose to use that support or not, what matters most is restoring stability to the sleep switch, because once stability returns, deep sleep can extend naturally. 3 a.m. awakenings can decrease. The racing mind can quiet faster, and sleeping through the night becomes possible again. However, there is a specific reason why 3 a.m. is so common. It is not random. It is not coincidence. It is tied to a predictable biological window, a shift in cortisol timing that many people never hear about, a circadian transition point that affects alert mode directly. And understanding that window changes everything about how you approach your sleep. When the neural sleep inhibition response begins to lower, changes follow. Not dramatic at first, but noticeable. People report fewer awakenings during the night. They describe less mental activation at 3 a.m. They notice their brain settles faster if they do wake, and they begin sleeping through longer stretches. The racing mind becomes less intense. Thoughts lose their urgency. The nervous system feels steadier. Cortisol no longer spikes as early. Deep sleep lasts longer without interruption. The sleep switch holds more consistently, and mornings feel different, clearer, less foggy, more restored. Energy feels natural instead of forced. Focus improves throughout the day. Mood feels more stable, and the fear of going to bed decreases. Nothing is being forced. Nothing is being suppressed. Nothing artificial is overpowering the brain. This is biology returning to alignment. Cortisol rising at the correct time, circadian rhythm stabilizing overnight, the nervous system remaining regulated. And when biology stabilizes, something shifts. You do not just fall asleep faster, you stay asleep longer. You move through sleep cycles more smoothly. You wake up less frequently at 3 a.m., and if you do wake, you fall back asleep more easily because alert mode no longer dominates the night. But there is still one critical question. Why does the brain so often activate between 3 and 3:30 a.m.? Why that specific window? Why not midnight or 5 a.m.? Why does cortisol begin shifting at that time? What is happening in the circadian rhythm right then? To understand that pattern, we need to look at the biological clock itself. In the next video, I will explain why the brain enters alert mode specifically around 3 a.m., not randomly, not emotionally, but biologically. There is a precise shift that begins during that window, a predictable change in cortisol timing, and it directly interacts with the neural sleep inhibition response. Most people never hear about this transition point, yet it happens every single night. For some, the shift is smooth and silent. For others, it becomes disruptive. The nervous system becomes slightly more active. The circadian rhythm reaches a turning point, and the sleep switch becomes vulnerable. If you've been waking up at 3 a.m. consistently, this timing is not a coincidence. It reflects a biological rhythm phase, a narrow hormonal window between deep night and early morning, where cortisol begins preparing the body for wakefulness. And if that shift happens too early, alert mode takes over. Understanding this timing changes everything about how you approach your sleep. It explains why your brain feels awake before your body does. It explains why you can't fall back asleep easily. It explains why the pattern repeats with precision. It explains why this becomes more common after 40, and it removes the idea that you're doing something wrong. In that next video, I will break down exactly what happens between 3 and 3:30 a.m., how early cortisol movement influences the nervous system, how circadian rhythm stability determines whether you stay asleep, how the neural sleep inhibition response gets activated in that window, and what biological signals help prevent that activation. Because once you see the mechanism clearly, the pattern stops feeling mysterious. So watch that video next. Pay close attention to the timing explanation. Notice how it connects to your own 3 a.m. awakenings. Notice how it explains why your brain won't shut off. Notice how it reframes what you thought was insomnia. Because when you understand the window, you move one step closer to finally sleeping through the night again.